is the same kid. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
Oh my god, what are you crazy? Woo!
Oh, they got a camera. Oh, they got a camera. Oh, they got a camera.
The internet is filled with creepy content, but some videos go beyond disturbing. These are the recordings that leave you questioning what's real, what's staged, and what should have never been captured at all. Tonight, we're diving into 6 of the most disturbing YouTube videos ever caught on camera. Let's dive straight into the first video. It was just after 1:49 a.m. on August 4th, 2021, when a police officer in North Bergen, New Jersey, pulled over a car that had been flying down a densely populated street at an alarming speed. Behind the wheel was 24-year-old Luis Fernando Ceballos. In the passenger seat sat 27-year-old Alexis Rodriguez. The two were on what was reportedly their first date. The officer, John Nunez, had witnessed the vehicle speeding past 100 miles per hour.
You can shut the car off and give me your license, registration, and insurance. The reason for the years.
That kid was speeding so fast, he almost hit him. I know he hit in a fight.
I know. That's why I stopped him.
You almost hit me too.
Yeah, that's why I'm stopping you for reckless driving, careless driving, speeding, and the lights you ran, okay? You were doing at least 100 on Kennedy Boulevard. All right, man? You almost struck my car because I was making a right turn.
Luis drove dangerously through traffic, nearly clipping multiple cars, including, at one point, almost striking the officer's car.
The right turn, lights on the yellow one. The next light on 66, red.
It was reckless, it was illegal, and it could have ended right there with a long list of charges. But Officer Nunez decided to take a different approach. The pair seemed young, nervous, perhaps just caught up in the moment. Rather than coming down hard, he chose to show leniency. He issued just 3 tickets, hoping the stop would serve as a wake-up call, a warning that would stick.
We're on a first date, me and him.
That's fine, but
Sorry.
almost killing each other is not the way to start on a first date.
As he handed back the documents, he offered a few final words of advice.
Get home safe.
Then he returned to his car and watched as the couple drove off into the night, presumably to finish what had started as a romantic evening.
Yo, this is the same kid. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But less than 10 minutes later, at 2:13 a.m., Officer Nunez received another call. There had been a crash, a bad one. He responded immediately. But when he arrived at the scene, what he found was something no officer ever wants to see. Especially not so soon after a moment like that. The vehicle involved in the wreck was the same car he had just pulled over. Now crushed and twisted beyond recognition, the mangled remains sat beneath the harsh glare of emergency lights. Inside were Luis and Alexis, both of them killed instantly.
We need a crash team, sir. Crash team, we need a crash team. That's the same car I just had. Fatal. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yo, that's the same car, bro. Yeah. That's the same car, man. The car's gonna shut down 43rd Street.
In the silence that followed, the realization set in. The same couple he had tried to protect with a warning was now gone. Over the next 2 hours, body cam footage and audio capture Officer Nunez struggling to process what had just happened.
That's the same car I just had, Sarge. What happened? That's the same car I just had, man. What did you have? That I stopped him for speeding.
Are you okay?
Yeah, bro, I'm good. It's just, like, bro, I just told you, slow down, man. Like,
You just stopped that car?
yeah, just hit him off with 3. Like,
Oh, that was the same car?
yeah, I told them, like, bro, slow down. They're making me get checked out. But I'm fine, man. It sucks. Like, I just literally stopped them for the same thing. Like, yo, relax, slow down, bro. And she's like, no, it's my fault. We're just trying to get home, but it's not your fault if they get into an accident. And I had him stopped a couple minutes before.
For speeding?
Yeah.
Details from the crash would soon emerge. A delivery driver was backing his semi-truck into a local business when, without warning, Luis's car came barreling around the corner, colliding with the trailer at full force. This wasn't a freak accident. This was avoidable. Just 5 seconds before the crash, it was determined that Luis had been driving at 124 miles per hour, even faster than before he was pulled over. Whatever lesson Officer Nunez had hoped to instill hadn't landed. Instead, the leniency may have been misinterpreted as a green light, as if Luis believed he could outrun responsibility, consequences, or mortality itself. But he couldn't, and neither could Alexis. The footage from that night now lives online, quietly circulating the darker corners of YouTube, a tragic, real-life reminder of how quickly things can spiral out of control when we treat the road like a playground. It's a moment frozen in time. 2 lives lost, a warning ignored, and a police officer left wondering what more he could have done. If you thought this was shocking, just wait till you see the next one. Quick interruption. If you're enjoying this video, why not hit that subscribe button? We're on a mission to hit 150,000 subscribers, and when we do, 3 lucky fans will win a free item of their choice from our merch store. Right now, 73.6% of you watching haven't subscribed yet. It's completely free, and your support helps us make even more awesome videos. So, don't miss out. Subscribe, and let's get back to the video. This next story takes us to Moscow, Russia, in February of 2020. A well-known influencer named Ekaterina Didenko was getting ready to celebrate her 29th birthday. Just a few years earlier, she had graduated from medical school, earning her credentials as a pharmacist. But rather than working in a pharmacy, Ekaterina took a different path, one that led her straight to social media. She used her scientific background to start a blog, offering tips for homemade remedies that, according to her, could help people avoid trips to the pharmacy. It was a controversial niche, to say the least. Many experts criticized her advice as potentially dangerous or misleading, but it didn't stop her rise. By early 2020, she had built a massive audience, more than 1 million followers across Instagram and other platforms. And with her birthday approaching on February 28th, she was ready to put on a party that her fans and her followers wouldn't forget. Helping her organize the celebration was her husband, Valentin Didenko. He had a surprise in mind, something he called a steam show. The party venue had a private indoor pool, and Valentin, inspired by a popular online trend at the time, thought he'd create a theatrical effect by dumping dry ice into the water. When dry ice hits water, it instantly creates a thick, rolling fog, visually dramatic, eerie, and perfect for social media. So, as the evening unfolded, guests laughed, danced, and filmed the night away. Then, Valentin invited everyone to the pool area. He handed out goggles and gowns, hyping the big reveal. And then, in front of dozens of phones and cameras, he dumped an entire box of dry ice into the pool.
Oh my god!
Oh my god, Валя, you're crazy.
Материал только что обновленный. И в газообразное состояние!
The reaction was immediate. The water vanished under a dense, white mist. The room filled with fog. Everyone gasped. It was the moment he and Ekaterina had planned. The spectacle. Valentin, smiling, even dived into the clouded water, disappearing completely into the haze.
Ёб твою налево!
But what no one realized in that moment was that this wasn't just fog. It was carbon dioxide gas, produced in large, concentrated amounts as the dry ice reacted with the water. Carbon dioxide, in this form, is highly toxic. In an enclosed space, it displaces oxygen, and breathing it in can quickly lead to dizziness, loss of consciousness, and eventually suffocation. To make the effect more intense, Valentine had reportedly closed the doors to the pool room, trapping the gas inside. There was almost no ventilation. The CO2 levels quickly became not just dangerous, but lethal. Valentine surfaced only once after diving in. The crowd, still cheering, thought he was playing along, splashing, laughing, putting on a show. But below the water, his lungs were filling with fluid. And on the surface, he was gasping for air that wasn't there. He was drowning and suffocating at the same time. Meanwhile, Ekaterina turned the camera on herself, still smiling, still recording. Behind her, guests continued filming, unaware that her husband was dying at the bottom of the pool. For a few surreal moments, it was exactly the performance they had envisioned, but the illusion shattered quickly. As the fog settled, guests began to feel strange: shortness of breath, sharp pain, burning in their lungs. Some started to collapse. Others complained of chemical burns across their skin. The room was evacuated in a panic, but it was too late. 3 people never made it out: Natalia Monakova, Yuri Alfarov, and Valentin Didenko. All 3 were found at the bottom of the pool. All 3 had died from a toxic mix of CO2 exposure and drowning. What was meant to be a milestone birthday for Ekaterina ended with her becoming a widow. And while the footage from that night was already hard to watch, it was what happened afterward that many found even more unsettling. Ekaterina began vlogging her experience, from the hospital to her moments of grief. She posted videos detailing her husband's death, her own hospital stay, and her emotional reactions. Some viewers were sympathetic, but many felt uneasy, accusing her of exploiting the tragedy to gain attention and followers. And they had questions, big ones. Why hadn't someone with a medical background understood the risks of using dry ice in a confined space? Why hadn't she, of all people, known better? Russian authorities launched an investigation, even considering negligent manslaughter charges. But to date, no one has been held accountable. Then, just 5 months later, Ekaterina shocked her audience once more. She remarried. The very videos that had chronicled her grief and the death of her first husband had also brought her an additional 500,000 followers. Did you find this unsettling? Then brace yourself for what you're about to see next. The woman in the frame is In-hye, a 36-year-old actress turned beauty YouTuber from South Korea, a beloved, though at times controversial figure in her home country. The title of the video? In-hye's Nightly Routine, Skincare Volume 48. It followed the same format as the others, calm, personal, and intimate. But there's one detail that makes this upload stand out from the rest. It would be her last. Just 2 days after the video went live, In-hye was found unconscious in her home by a close friend. She was rushed to the hospital, where paramedics briefly managed to revive her. But by the next morning, she was gone. It was September 14, 2020, and her cause of death was officially listed as cardiac arrest caused by a suicide attempt. The investigation that followed was short and quiet. No further context. No details from the autopsy were ever made public. Her death was labeled a tragedy, an open and shut case. But for those who followed her online, something about it didn't feel finished. Soon, speculation began to swirl, particularly around the final video she had uploaded. While it appeared routine, viewers started noticing details, small at first, that hinted at something darker just beneath the surface. The first red flag, her video numbering. The upload was labeled as Volume 48, yet the video before it was Volume 45. There was no Volume 46 or 47 in between. A minor inconsistency, sure, but things only grew stranger from there. Exactly 48 seconds into the video, an unsettling glitch appears on screen. The video begins to buffer and stutter for nearly a full minute.
즉흥적으로 해보려고 카메라를 켰습니다. 아 시원해. 아직 머리도 안 말렸는데 진짜 리얼로 보여주려고 정말 평소에 쓰는 나이트 케어가 어떻게 되는지 순서도 지금 즉흥적으로 제일 첫 번째는 토너를 화장솜에 묻혀.
What we see is In-hye making a repeated chopping motion toward her own neck, again and again, while her voice continues normally in the background. Then, at around 1 minute and 32 seconds, something even more disturbing happens. A second voice enters.
아시죠?
High-pitched, disembodied, not part of the video's original audio. Some claim it says, "I'm going to die." Others dismiss it as a mistranslation or an exaggerated interpretation. Then at 1 minute and 43 seconds, another unnatural voice is heard.
어느 정도 흡수를 시켜준 다음에
No one's been able to clearly translate it. When the glitch ends, the video plays normally, as if nothing happened. But behind In-hye, the clock on the wall appears to have jumped forward several minutes, suggesting this wasn't a rendering error, but possibly an intentional edit. Adding to the mystery, In-hye herself acknowledged the issue. She added, "Please skip over the buffering parts," in the video title, something she had never done before. Given that she was her own editor, it raises a troubling question. Was this done on purpose? If so, why? Some theorists believe that this video was a cryptic farewell, a subtle symbolic warning of what she was planning to do. The number 48 appears multiple times. It was labeled Volume 48, despite the real count being lower. The glitch begins at the 48-second mark, and her previous video even featured subtitles filled with 4s and 8s, used in a joke. Though in retrospect, those numbers feel eerily pointed. But theories didn't stop at suicide. Others suggested this was not a cry for help, but a warning about someone else. The night before her death, In-hye posted a final photo on Instagram, a simple image of a flower. But it was the caption that raised eyebrows. "I guess everyone is seeing this, even the person who said I'm just a body, not even worthy of speech. I think I have to expose you." It sounded like an accusation. And at the end of the post, she tagged a man named Hwang, a well-known lawyer and social media figure. Their relationship was never made public. The post was deleted within an hour. Shortly after that, Hwang deleted all of his accounts and went silent. Some believe that In-hye was planning to expose him for something serious, and that the glitch in her video was a warning, not a metaphor for suicide. Adding to the suspicion, her family claimed they noticed bruises on her body in the hospital. Though this could have been caused by the CPR she received, the timing felt suspicious to many. Still, Hwang was never investigated, and there was no hard evidence linking him to her death. Which brings us back to a much more tragic, and perhaps more likely, reality. That this final video, along with the Instagram post, were reflections of a woman in pain, rather than clues in a conspiracy. According to friends, In-hye had been struggling with depression for years. Her decline began in 2011 when she wore a revealing dress to a Korean Film Awards ceremony. The backlash was severe. Public opinion turned on her. Roles dried up. By 2014, she had essentially been blacklisted from the industry. From beloved star to national pariah, all over a dress. Mental health remains heavily stigmatized in South Korea, and it's likely she never received the help she needed. So when that final video went up, edited by her own hand, featuring inexplicable glitches, strange voices, and a suspicious timeline, it's hard not to see it as a cry for help. Or perhaps a silent farewell. Of course, we can't be sure. Many of the more chilling details, the voices, the symbols, the numbers, could just be coincidence, or even confirmation bias from people trying to find meaning where there may be none. Some native Korean speakers even claim the strange voice was likely just a sped-up clip of In-hye herself, meant to be a comedic insert, a style common in Korean YouTube videos. But with the video now mysteriously removed from YouTube, and with no clear answers left behind, it has become a kind of digital ghost. A strange, heartbreaking artifact from a woman who spent her final days online, doing what she always did, sharing pieces of her life, and maybe sharing the end of it too. It's sad to think that people take their own lives, but what happens when someone else does it for them? Since around 2019, doorbell cameras have become a common sight on homes around the world. What started as a simple way to see who's at your door has now evolved into a tool that regularly captures some of the most chilling, unpredictable moments imaginable, from petty thefts to full-blown criminal activity. In fact, videos from these devices have become so common on YouTube that they've practically created their own genre. And, like many others, I've gotten used to them, almost desensitized. But every now and then, something surfaces that shakes that sense of comfort. A video that reminds us why we started watching these clips in the first place. One of those videos was recorded on the evening of July 21st, 2021, just after 8 p.m., in a quiet neighborhood in Las Vegas. It was another blistering 100-degree day, and inside one of the homes, a young woman was cooking in the kitchen, waiting for her husband to return from work. To cool down, she opened a window to let in some of the evening breeze. An innocent decision that, in hindsight, would lead to a genuinely terrifying series of events. Unbeknownst to her, outside on the street, a man had been wandering aimlessly through the neighborhood. No clear direction, no real purpose, just pacing. At some point, he stopped in front of her house. Through the open window, he had a direct view into the kitchen and into the woman's life. Moments later, he approached the front door and rang the doorbell. That's when the camera started recording.
Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? What? Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure?
At first, nothing seems particularly alarming. The man stands there, ringing the bell, knocking gently. His voice is calm, almost rehearsed, as he repeats the same phrase over and over again, saying he just wants to ask a few questions. But what makes this so unnerving is that no one was responding to him. The woman stayed hidden, never making a sound. He couldn't see her, yet he kept talking, as if to himself.
Are you positive? I just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure? Are you absolutely certain?
Then, without warning, he grabs the doorknob and tries to open it. Thankfully, the door was locked. He mutters something under his breath and turns to leave. But something about the way he spoke, the calm tone mixed with erratic phrases, felt wrong. Like there was something boiling just under the surface. As the man walks away, the woman's husband, still at work, sees the footage in real time and speaks through the doorbell speaker. That's when the situation takes a horrifying turn.
So, who are you?
What? Yeah? Are you sure?
Who are you?
Hey, I just had a couple questions. I just wanted to ask you about maybe show. Yeah, can you hear me? What I'm looking for is for the girl that's in the house to come out here because I'm going to rip her and kill her. Do you have her open the door? I'm going to rip and kill the girl that's on the other side of this door when she lets me in.
The man responds to the voice and reveals exactly why he was at the door. No guessing, no speculation. He says outright what he had planned, what he was carrying with him to make it happen.
I want to rip her and kill her because I have a knife and a gun. Yeah, and I'm going to knock on her door again.
If the door had been unlocked, if she had opened it, well, we likely wouldn't be telling this story the same way. Instead, the man slowly walks away, still repeating his strange phrases, occasionally.
Yeah. What?
He stops to stare back at the house before finally disappearing into the night. Police were called, but by the time they arrived, the man was already gone. Just like that, in and out of their lives, but leaving behind the bone-chilling realization that he could come back at any moment. Scared and desperate to warn others, the woman uploaded the footage online, and within hours, it was everywhere. The very next day, a viewer recognized the same man wandering another neighborhood just a few miles away. This time, police got there fast. He was arrested before he could hurt anyone. When asked for his name, he replied with a chilling phrase, "I'm the Holy Spirit." That was all he said. Later, police identified him as Christopher Sums, a man with a criminal past, including charges of theft, assault, and witness intimidation. His mugshot is disturbing, but even more haunting is the fact that just a few years ago, he looked completely normal. According to his old LinkedIn, he had a promising career and what appeared to be a stable life. So, what happened? Some suspect a psychological breakdown. Others point to drug use, maybe both. His behavior, the repeating phrases, the vacant stare, certainly suggests something was deeply wrong. Christopher is now undergoing mental evaluations to determine whether he's fit to stand trial. But whatever the outcome, the events of that night remain deeply unsettling. For now, let's dive straight into the next disturbing video. YouTube has always been a place where people go to chase dreams. For some it works. A single video can turn an unknown name into a worldwide sensation. But for every success story, there are countless others that fade into the background, never to be noticed. Among those forgotten names was a man who called himself Mathboy Fly, an aspiring rapper trying to find his breakthrough moment. His real name was Darrell Brooks, and while he hoped to build a future in music, the life he was actually living told a much darker story. Darrell's troubles started early. At just 17, he was charged with felony battery. It was the first in what would become a long line of arrests, a criminal record that stretched across decades. By 2007, his life had completely unraveled. He'd become addicted to meth and was soon convicted of one of his most serious crimes yet: statutory rape, a charge that not only sent him to prison, but also placed him on the sex offender registry. He was clearly a man battling deep inner demons, something that was unexpectedly captured by a documentary film crew. At the time, they were filming a project on meth addiction called Crystal Darkness. In a brief but revealing segment, we see Darrell behind bars, expressing guilt over the fact that he had abandoned his child because of his addiction.
I got this beautiful kid who's going without my time. I thought I would just be this wonderful father, just be the greatest dad ever. I'm gonna give him everything that I didn't have. But then it's like reality set.
Years later, the director of that documentary, Logan Needham, would reflect on that moment, saying Daryl seemed sincere. "I felt like he definitely had remorse," he said. "I think he felt bad about the decisions that had landed him where he was." But sadly, that regret never turned into change. Once out of prison, Daryl's behavior only worsened. Arrest after arrest followed for domestic abuse, strangulation, bail jumping. The list goes on. Still, through it all, he clung to one dream: becoming a famous rapper. Under the name Math Boy Fly, he began uploading music videos to YouTube. One of those videos, posted in the summer of 2018, was called Half a Ticket.
I just got a load worth about a half a ticket. 30 in the blicker when I'm out here chasing chicken. Was observant to the game when I used to play the benches. Now I swipe Da Vinci, got 'em looking at me different.
At first glance, it's nothing out of the ordinary. Standard visuals, poor audio quality, just another rap video from someone trying to make it. But with hindsight, this video now stands as one of the darkest on the entire site. Because at the time of its release, something was building inside Daryl. He was nearing the end of his rope. His temper was getting worse, his decisions more erratic. In 2020, things escalated. Daryl was arrested for firing a gun at his nephew during an argument. Thankfully, the bullet missed. But when police searched him, they found a stolen firearm and a large amount of meth in his pocket. He was staring down a decade-long prison sentence. But then, in the middle of the pandemic, the justice system bent. Due to overcrowding and health concerns, Daryl's bail was reduced to just $500. He walked free. That decision would prove devastating. In 2021, Daryl was back behind the wheel. This time, literally stalking his ex-girlfriend, the mother of his child. When she refused to get in his car, he ran her over. Somehow, she survived. But even with a history of violence, and even though he was already out on bail at the time, his bond was set at only $1,000. Again, he was free. By now, Daryl may have genuinely believed he was untouchable. And just days later, he would commit an act so violent, so horrifying, that it would shock the nation. On November 21st, 2021, Daryl and his ex got into another argument. This time, he stormed out of the house, climbed into his red SUV, and drove away. But this wasn't him cooling off. It wasn't about space. It was something else. Something far worse. That afternoon, Daryl drove his car directly into the Waukesha Christmas Parade, a beloved community event in Wisconsin. Witnesses say he was zigzagging through the crowd, speeding over 40 miles per hour, trying to hit as many people as possible. He didn't know the victims. He didn't care. This was pure, unfocused rage. By the end of the attack, 62 people were injured, many of them children and seniors. 6 would lose their lives. Daryl tried to escape, even knocking on a stranger's door, begging for help and asking for an Uber. A doorbell camera captured the moment, but police caught up with him soon after. This time, there would be no more leniency.
I wasn't a human anymore. I was just something vile, disgusting, despicable. I could go on, I could use a lot of words, but that's what I became. It's really what I became.
Daryl Brooks is now facing 77 charges, and the same system that once let him walk away again and again finally seems ready to hold him accountable. What makes this whole story even more unsettling is a detail hidden in plain sight. Go back to that 2018 music video, Half a Ticket. Look closely in the background. That red SUV? It's the same vehicle used in the parade attack. Years before anyone knew what he was capable of, it was right there on screen. A symbol of his dream, and a preview of the nightmare he would one day unleash. Did you find these 5 YouTube videos disturbing? Then brace yourself for the last disturbing video. On the morning of February 13th, 2014, a man named Kevin Bennett was driving through Hampton, Missouri, heading to work like he did every other weekday. The weather was clear, traffic was normal, just a typical morning commute. But as he pulled up to a familiar intersection, something caught his eye. There was a man on the corner, just dancing. No sign, no music, no hat for tips. He wasn't asking for anything, just silently dancing, completely in his own world. And apparently, this was something he did every morning. People around the area knew of him, or at least his presence. It had become a kind of local mystery. Kevin, like many others, found the man oddly captivating, so he filmed it. Just a quick clip of a man dancing on a street corner.
Dancing, man. Getting after it this morning. Putting out the good vibes for all the commuters.
He uploaded it to YouTube later that day. At first, it seemed like nothing, just a quirky little moment from a small town. But the video quickly gained traction. Thousands of views poured in. The local news even ran a short segment on the mystery dancer. No one knew his name. No one knew what they were really watching. And what people had unknowingly captured wasn't a street performance. It was something else entirely. Something much darker.
Hi everyone, my name's Seth Herder.
At the time, Seth was in his late 20s, unemployed, and struggling with a number of untreated mental health issues. His behavior had become more and more erratic over time. Online, he had been posting strange religious ramblings, claims about Jesus returning with intergalactic beings, messages about peace and cosmic unity. Hidden among these bizarre rants were small mentions of his morning dance routine. He didn't see it as a performance. He called it a ritual, a spiritual act to spread his message. He never said exactly what the message was, but often included phrases like, "I love all beings forever and seek never to harm or destroy any living thing. No tree, no bird, no bee, no dragonfly." But over time, that message started to change. Seth couldn't hold down a steady place to live. He'd get evicted again and again. Noise complaints, heavy smoking, disturbances. In 2018, he moved into a new apartment complex, hoping for a fresh start. But that's when things really started to spiral. Neighbors began filing complaints almost immediately. One said they saw Seth sprinting down the hallway repeatedly, wielding a katana. Others saw him outside behind the building in the dead of night, standing perfectly still, then suddenly dancing alone in the dark for hours. No music, no expression, just moving. People said he looked gone, like he wasn't really there. Then came the verbal outbursts, random fights, shouting matches in the halls over nothing. People were starting to get scared. And Seth? He was slipping deeper and deeper into something no one could quite explain. At some point, he disappeared from all social media. His Twitter, his blog, gone. Silent. His digital trail almost completely vanished. Except for one place, Amazon. For whatever reason, Seth had taken a liking to leaving detailed reviews, mostly for religious books and odd spiritual items. But in early 2018, those reviews started getting more concerning. In March, he bought a pair of industrial-strength metal handcuffs. His review read, "Strong metal, good case, be careful." Later, he reviewed a set of throwing knives and a $20 katana, the same sword his neighbors had seen him running with. In that review, he wrote, "This is a fighting blade for sure, very capable of killing." And then, the most disturbing one of all, a stun gun. Seth admitted he bought it in a fit of rage. He said he shocked himself in the face and neck 30 times, said it left welts, called the experience exhilarating. By this point, the people around Seth were growing truly worried. He called his father around this time, claiming that Jesus had spoken to him, that he'd been chosen, that it was time to punish people. His father alerted the authorities, but nothing was done. Then, on the night of May 2nd, 2018, Seth called his ex-boyfriend Christopher, said the CIA was listening to his thoughts, begged him to come over. And Christopher, concerned for Seth's mental state, agreed. That decision would cost him his life. They got into an argument. It escalated. And in a sudden fit of rage, Seth grabbed his katana and attacked, slashing again and again. When maintenance workers entered the apartment days later, they found Christopher's body on the floor. Seth was arrested not long after. He claimed it was all a delusion, that Christopher had gotten caught in his divine punishment. And maybe even worse, it might not have stopped there. The weapons, the handcuffs, the self-inflicted shocks, the message of violence disguised as peace, it was all building towards something. When questioned, Seth revealed that he didn't see himself as a prophet. He believed he was the Antichrist. And the dancing? That was his sign, his public declaration. He said every honk, every smile, every shout from a passing car, that was confirmation, proof that people were recognizing his power, feeding the delusion. And the video filmed by Kevin Bennett, that cheerful little clip from 2014, Seth later called it the ultimate proof, his magnum opus. In his mind, it was the moment the world acknowledged who he really was, and no one had any idea. That's all for today, folks. If you want to see more of this creepy content, click on the video on screen.